books on education. Good morning, Stephen. Thanks for joining
Good morning.
us. What do you think about academies coming in to run a school, particularly schools that have been put into special measures?
Well, I think in the end, if somebody comes in with a good plan, and if the school has a good, or the Academy Trust has a good background on education, I mean, the Thinking School Academy Trust, as far as I can see, has 7 other schools in its orbit, and I can't see that there's been any real complaints about what they've been doing. I had a quick look at their websites and read some things online about them, and they appear to have a good plan and to have a very forward-looking view of education, which obviously could benefit primary school that's had some difficulties, although I understand Twiddle has been doing quite well on a general basis, and the parents are generally quite happy with education there.
The parents in particular have told us that one of their big concerns is not so much about the school becoming an academy, but more that the Thinking Schools Academy Trust isn't the most appropriate, particularly when it comes to students at Twiddle who have special needs.
Yes, I mean, obviously a school that has, or an academy that has 7 schools in its orbit must have children with special needs. It may not have as many as Twiddle does, but all schools have children with special needs, and they're duty bound to look after those children. And I'm sure that the provision that particular academy would give would take into consideration the particular circumstances at Twiddle. I can understand that the political side of this, or it's become rather toxic, the debate, and it's very hard for people now to stand back and take a deep breath and look at the situation in an objective way, because I think, as Paul has said, there appears to have been quite a rushed process, and it appears like it's a choice of one, although if it's a good choice, it doesn't really matter whether there's 1 or 10.
Right, yeah, I was going to say, in your experience of looking at academies taking over schools, taking over the management of schools, is there normally a process where more than one would be involved? And if so, is it more of a bidding process, and that maybe parents then and the Board of Governors can have more of a choice?
I don't have direct experience of bidding processes. I do believe that in a situation where there hasn't been an Ofsted report like there was last year, and a school being put into special measures, there would normally be probably a longer consultative process, and the school would obviously be looking around for partners. This appears to have been brought on by what has actually happened, although I do understand the school is quite positive about academy status, and there is no fundamental objection to that.
Our understanding is, of course, that the Board of Governors have actually rejected Thinking Schools Academy Trust. I'm just wondering, what do you think? What's your understanding of what might happen now? Because the Department of Education obviously suggesting that they do take on this, that this trust does take on Twiddle. So what's next then in the whole process?
Well, I suppose there could be a forced decision, which would be sad, because in the end, it's much better that people agree together and they come together and everybody's positive about it. I mean, the Thinking Schools Academy Trust may in fact be extremely good for this school, but because the processes and the disputes that have arisen have taken over, no one's really able to see whether or not they're good or bad now. I mean, I think that's the problem. Sometimes if the debate centres around that, then obviously, the whole issue is clouded. I mean, in the end, the most important thing in all of this is the children, and they have to be looked after. And, obviously, further delays will mean that this thing will run out for much longer, and perhaps, things that need to be done are not being done.
Stephen, thank you for joining us. Stephen Curran, an author of books on education. Just to bring back Paul Clark briefly. Paul, I'm just wondering about the local education authority. Could Medway Council have done more with this decision process?
Well, I think they could, and I think there is